Alright, let me just make sure. Okay, awesome. I think it looks like that's working. I see the volume bar moving, so I think it's working.
Okay, my memory isn't what it used to, so we have to say the conversation over again.
Nope. No, we can just start fresh. Figure I'll introduce us quick and then just kind of roll through different topics of conversation and stuff like that. For the listeners' benefit here, my name's Brad Allen, and if this is your first time tuning into anything related to the Crusader's Tale film series, thanks for being here. We appreciate that. Hope you like the podcast, and do check out the actual film episodes as well when you get a chance. Or if you're a returner, if you've seen it all, thanks as well. Hope you are enjoying it. So, with me here today, I've got guest speaker Steve Schultz, good friend of the family, known each other for a while, and been very kind and helpful with different film projects and moral support. I mean, however you want to word it.
Sure.
So yeah, is there any way you'd want to introduce yourself? Something I'm missing?
I'm Steve Schultz. I'm old. Like I said, I've been, a very, very good friend of the family. I've known you for a long time and watched you growing up. So what Brad and I were just talking about was how we were talking about some other friends and how they've grown throughout the years. Brad and I were just talking about how he was actually kind of a real quiet kid, kind of awkward, kind of I hope that word isn't offensive, awkward.
I don't
But
take offense.
when you're a kid,
Yeah.
you were kind of an awkward kid.
Yeah.
You didn't know what was the right thing to say.
Yeah.
You always felt like you were saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, and I could just tell that with you. But somewhere in your late teens, you really really blossomed. They came out of your shell and became, it started with good manners. I think your parents gave you a good upbringing and have good manners and respect for people. So I think you just started with that, and when you do that in life, you find that people respond to you a lot easier, right? Conversation is going to be much kinder. The conversation is going to be just better quality,
Yeah.
And I think that maybe that's part of the basis of where you started to really change and come out of your shell. Is there something that made you really become more outgoing, not so timid?
I mean, it's a good question. I mean, I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Um, Shoot. Well, I got so many thoughts. They're all kicking around. I mean, it's I mean, one thing that comes to mind is like because you mentioned it helps a conversation go better when you're polite. I mean, we talked about that once when I was much younger, and even at the time, I think you'd said something similar, like if you're nice, it goes a long way. You'll get much further in life, and I actually took that to heart a lot. That was like, wow, that seems like good advice. Hasn't failed me yet. I mean, so I appreciate that, but I mean, even if there's like disagreement, don't see eye to eye on something. If they're nice about it, they can still like agree to disagree. It's huge. But no, I would say honestly, when my parents dropped me off at college, that was it. That pretty much day one. Um, Sort of like, all right, you're here, you're on your own. Good luck, make good choices.
Right. So it's almost like throwing you in the pool and
Yeah.
and making you swim.
Oh, I was scared. I mean, I was scared to be at college because my best friends from my hometown weren't there. Didn't know anybody. None of my friends were going to college. Uh, Certainly not at the same college as I was. Didn't know anybody, and just yeah, I was in the deep end. So it was like, all right, I'm just gonna sit in my dorm all day. Nothing else to do, and a little bit over time, just through work, class, uh, awkward social situations that I just completely sucked at making conversation, and enough times in, it was like, well, I started to figure out a few things. Just kicked nervous shame, I guess. I don't know.
Right. So
Something
that's
like
only a
that.
mistake, right? If you don't learn from it.
Right.
So if you're learning from all those mistakes and
Yeah.
come out ahead.
Yeah. I mean, because there might be people listening that feel the way I felt, or sometimes I still back to that feeling here and there, but I don't know. I mean, it was just realizing that the worst thing that could possibly happen in an awkward social situation is awkward, feel weird. You start laughing because you don't know what to say. It's really weird, and you just walk away and say, "All right." And if that's the worst that's gonna happen, it's all right. Yeah,
Right.
I can deal with that. So,
Yep. Yeah. It doesn't have to keep you up at night.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, for the most part. So that's yeah, that's the whole thing.
Another thing that I've learned a lot as I get older, and but this be some advice to you too. Then, if you had other advice, I have a real close friend that is he messes with me. We mess with each other all the time.
That's
You
all
know,
good friends
trash
do.
talk like guys do, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'll trash talk him, and he will just not answer, say nothing.
Mm.
He'll just look at me and say absolutely zero.
Okay. Yeah.
And it drives me nuts, right? It just drives me nuts. He knows it gets to me.
Yeah.
And I've been learning that, and I really admire that. And someone like me was just so learn to just every once in a while just shut my mouth. You shut your mouth. Yeah, you may not say the right things at the right time, but you know what? I'm not gonna say the wrong things at the wrong time either. Just
True.
sometimes if you're in doubt, just keep it quiet. Listen, learn,
Yeah.
and then you know if you really feel like the time is to talk, then go ahead and talk. So that's something even at my age I found out recently. Starting to
No, that makes sense. I mean, my grandfather, my mom's side, he used to say, "Single mouth, two ears, plan accordingly." And it,
that's a
it
good one.
it makes sense. I mean, there's biology for you.
Right.
Um,
So when you're directing, how do you feel like you find yourself using that, or you what's your style? Are you more of a you quiet most of the time and you just give a few directions here and there? Do you find yourself giving quite a few directions to try to get through the process more rapidly?
Thinking about that, I mean, I different cast or crew members might have a different thought. I mean, depending on who you ask, but I mean, um, I would say I'm soft spoken and sort of I'm a floater, kind of running around the entire set all the time, asking how can I help, and then people will look at me and they'll say, "We're helping you. What do you mean? How can you help? What can we do to help you?" And sometimes I catch myself, oh, okay, they need a little actual direction here. Okay, so then I have to, it's been a really good exercise in learning to step up and lead.
Uh-huh.
That's been a learned skill, and it's great. I love it. I mean, it's learning to delegate and learning to say, okay, yeah, take care of this. Position the camera here, tilt it at this angle, use this lens, try to capture this thing in frame, record it for this many seconds. I mean, that kind of stuff. And with working with music people and people that have helped with editing or you name it. I mean, it's been an exercise in learning how to delegate, which is hard for me, but it's good.
Sure. And there's
So,
some quantifying of labor probably.
yeah.
I don't know what kind of system you have for payment now, or or you're doing like your projects with friends and that sort of thing. But you
Yeah.
know, sometimes super nice people like you receiving a service from somebody. If you're paying a service for something,
Mhm.
uh, you have every right to ask their for their what do you call their work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Right. And sometimes that's difficult, in my position I once got promoted at work, and then after a couple of years I actually got demoted. That's brag about on a podcast, but
sure.
it was a good learning experience though, because they told me I was too nice to people, I wasn't demanding enough. I wasn't forward enough with people. To, to, sometimes you need to push things along to get the job done. To
Sometimes,
go
yeah.
from A to B doesn't mean that you have to be disrespectful.
Right.
You know, demanding something from someone doesn't mean that you have to be a jerk about it.
Sure.
It just means that
It's I've heard the term commanding respect before. I mean, in history class, I remember one of the history or teacher in high school actually was talking about George Washington commanding respect. I realized what that meant, commanding. Like, so it's a dictator. Like, what does that mean? And the more we learned about it, the more I thought about it over time. To interest in history, it started to make more sense for that phrasing, commanding respect. Well, commanding can mean you earn something, earn respect. Leading by example, which is something I really believe in. I don't care what it is. I think leading by example is way better than bossing around. You say, "Hey, I can do this. I know you can too. Here's the way I do it. You'll figure out your own way. But if,
excellent.
if you want to follow my shoes, great. If you want to do it your way, awesome. But here's a path that you could follow." People are way more likely to do it, do a good job, and be happy about it, rather than micromanaging, bossing around. Because I've dealt with
Yes.
both types of bosses at
Yes.
different types of jobs, and really made a point to be as much as I can to try to lead by example. Um, Sometimes that does mean I step in and help out when I really gotta just let people do it, which has been an exercise to learn. I mean, I've had to, and it's been a great exercise with this series because me taking on main character role, um, not behind the camera. I'm not touching cameras. I'm not telling them what to do with cameras. I've had to completely let go, and that's been really hard, but it's been really fun. Then, on one hand, I don't have to worry about what's happening. Friends will take care of it. I gotta trust them. um, and then they learn. They get experience that they want to get, and then I learn what it's like to be the actor, so that when I then projects, I'm actually more effective giving direction, because then I know terms help. So that's been awesome. That's been huge. Real
Very
quick
good.
piggyback off that too. It's like being the main character. That's something I've talked about. My parents, for example, they had posed the question. Is there a reason that you do that as opposed to bringing someone else on board for that? And they weren't by any means accusing of like it's like a
Ego
narcissistic
ego
thing.
trip, right?
Yeah, they weren't suggesting that. There are some people that might wonder, people that might suggest that, and I've wondered about that. Like, does that seem hoity-toity to really step front and center in your own channel? I mean, that too much, but I've seen other filmmakers and actors that do that. People that are in my position, they're trying to get started, they're trying to just get experience and love it, so they have fun with it. Um, that it's not the ego, it's just they enjoy it. That's how I feel. So it's nice to see there are other people that get that or serve as role models for that. And it's just the character. I feel so connected to his journey that I feel like it's easy for me to step into.
Sure. They kind
So
of say, you want something done right, do it yourself, right? You've heard
I've
people
heard
say
that.
that.
I've heard it.
And
Yo,
so, maybe it means a lot to you. And so, and especially since this is, your beginnings of this career,
yeah,
you probably have a vision for it, and it's easiest in your mind to fulfill that vision by taking on,
some
you
ways.
know, because it's, maybe kind of personal to you, or, and the story's
Yeah,
kind of personal to you. So that's, that's perfectly understandable.
yeah,
And as you go on, and as you have more experience with this adventure of yours, you know, maybe the next one, you'll try a different view. Maybe you will just be all hands on. Maybe you're just totally doing the cinematography. Maybe you have a larger hand in the audio. You know, wherever life takes you. But
Yeah.
for right now, to start off with in your first beginnings, I think that's why you went with that. And I wouldn't, as an outsider, wouldn't fault you for that.
I mean, that seems pretty. That sums it up really really well. Actually, that's kind of where my head is at. I mean, yeah, it's been so much fun. I mean, loved it, and we're still going to be doing more of it. So it's journey's certainly not over. It's just really just getting started, and want to bring more people on board. The more people that get involved, the better. Even because uh, there's so many potential options for where the story could go. Just endless opportunity. So many different people to see themselves in different characters. Someone that they connect to. It's, it's the most exciting part, honestly. So I'm excited for
Yeah,
that. And
yeah,
sword
cool.
fighting is fun. So it doesn't hurt.
I bet. I
Um,
saw just a few snippets in the clips of
yeah,
the sword fighting. Yeah, that looked
yeah,
fun.
yeah. No, I mean it was such a kind of an insane thing to take on. I mean, choreographed it as well as we could. Trying to plan things ahead of time, limited resources, limited time,
Sure,
limited bodies, and
sure.
stuff like that. And a lot of it was here's the skeleton of how the fight's gonna look at half speed with sticks, and then just build off that once we actually get in the costume and make it really slow, and then speed it up 25%, and
Right.
then continually just get more and more comfortable. And
And things get more and more difficult as you get more and more costume on, I'm sure.
yeah, I mean the armor is
With
heavy.
the chainmail. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. That's
it's
no joke.
oh, it's heavy. I mean, it's a lot. You put that on your back, and your back hurts. And there was
So here's something.
yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt,
No, you're good. You're good.
but that just brings me to something that gets under my skin, and I'll do my old man complaining
Oh,
now.
sure.
Like, you go on social media and stuff, and you say you know, like movie actors, and they're just overpaid, and they get millions of dollars to just do whatever. I mean, think of The Last Samurai. You
Oh
know,
yeah, love that movie so much,
right?
so much.
Tom Cruise at that point. Remember he's at the end, and he's doing that scene where he's in the big duel and he's fighting in the mud.
Yeah,
And he ends up like face down in the mud,
yeah,
and it's raining and pouring.
yeah.
Like that's that's not fake mud.
No.
It's not fake water that's hitting him.
Right.
That's all real. Like
Yeah,
the dude is really face down in the mud, you know, in the rain. And
yeah,
I'm sure it's cold. Yeah, he has blankets that are there for him a few minutes later,
for sure.
and heaters, sure, in a tent, whatever.
Yeah,
But I mean, no, but he's still out there in the dirt
yeah.
eating mud. Uh,
Right. Yeah,
and
he's
people
doing
just,
that.
yeah, people have just,
Yeah.
you just sit back in the armchair and judge people. It's not easy. You got to go out and do it in real life. Go ahead and swing that sword around with your chainmail on
Right.
and the
Yeah.
helmet, shield. How heavy those swords are. No joke. It's
No,
no joke.
I mean it's a real thing, and I appreciate that train of thought. I mean it's a real thing. Like um, in The Revenant, Leonardo DiCaprio. I think it was The Revenant. It's wherever he got attacked by a bear or something like that. I mean, he was really in the Alaskan cold and actually get hit by a bear, but I mean, the cold and the frostbite, they're dealing with real things. Same with on the Titanic set. They're in a pool of water that's actually freezing cold. They put ice in it and stuff, and they want that genuine reaction. Granted, yeah, they can put themselves out and go near a space heater, but yeah, I mean, it's not easy work, and like with the actors strike and how um that's probably a hot button issue, but just I don't know, maybe I'm throwing myself in the fire here, but I guess with that whole situation, um I think a lot of people have a lot of different opinions.
Well, it's not so much that they're even the actors were striking for themselves; they were actually striking workers, right?
Yeah, the lower paid people that,
The cameraman, and
yeah,
the boom holders.
yeah, because there's some forgotten roles that people get paid less when they really are integral to the project that they do deserve better pay, kind of like how teachers deserve better pay in all of America, across the country. Um, so I think there's a lot of good reasons why they were out there. There's other parts where it's like they're upset about AI, for example. If I'm understanding it correctly, I could be totally out of my water. I could be wrong, and if so, then I digress. But it's one thing people have talked about, like AI is a problem. It's gonna steal the jobs, and well, I think people can also use it as a tool that use AI to generate images that help you storyboard your project, plan it out, organized, and that effect, AI can be a good thing. you know, I still think people can have original creativity, and maybe that's a side issue. Maybe that's something totally different from the strike, but depending on who you heard talking about it or reading.
That's kind of what they were. Yeah, one of the topics of what was the point of the strike.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a slippery slope if we start going down the
Yeah.
AI hole.
Yeah.
Talking about
Yeah.
artificial intelligence.
A bit.
Because then we'll have other people talking about me conspiracy
Maybe.
theories.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, there's so many new avenues that creativity is going down though.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Like, for example, Netflix completely killed cable. Maybe that's a copyright strike for name dropping them. Maybe, I don't know, but um, streaming, I should say,
Streaming television, sure.
Yeah, because everything's on demand, even with another name drop, but Disney. I mean, all the
It's
shows are there.
Paramount and
Yeah,
all these places, and it's kind of neat how everyone wanted to capitalize off their
yeah,
success. Now everyone wants their own piece of the pie, and they're all
yep,
branching out.
yeah,
So,
sure.
I have friends that have 8, 9 different streaming
Oh
services.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you know what? $15 a pop, $20 a pop for those
Heads
streaming
up.
services. You know what? You might as well just have cable.
True.
So, or Dish or what have you.
It really is the same
So
cost.
it's starting to come back. Starting to come back around. It went too far, gone, which is good though. Checks and balances in life are always good as far
For
as
sure.
capitalism goes. When things swing one way, they usually swing back the other.
That's true. I mean, in so many areas. I mean, absolutely. It's that's like words to live by. I mean, honestly, like you kind of got to go with the motions. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting coming into the creative stuff at this time because I've always had an interest in it, just never had the courage to do it. Get to a point in my life where I said, tons of resources to throw into this, but like this is a passion that I have and never tried it and don't try now when I'm 27. Start it when I'm 40, probably. I, so that was the big thing was having a serious conversation with myself because writing, well, and stopped writing a long time because I focused more on career side of that, career that was actually paying the bills. But you can't just give up your hobby, so it's like you have to make time that side of your job.
Yeah.
And when I realized that was huge. I said, all right, I'm gonna attack it. And I did.
Yeah. Fantastic. For the listeners out there, I gave him a bingo and pointed at him. Just because that's the way I usually good for people listening. So bingo. If you don't do it now, probably less and less likely as the years.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my cousins is an artist, and she had described something similar, her own way with paintings and stuff like that. That, um, having a master's degree in psychology and practiced that for several years and stuff like that, and overwhelmed with life and career stress and feeling like a passion was by the wayside, hitting a point where it was like, well, gotta find a way to make this work. And then for her, it's like now the master's degree actually helps her with the art because she has an understanding of certain subject matter that sort of intellectually dissect the art in ways that are just so profound, so much that all can help. And it's crazy. It's the
Right.
whole thing.
Sure.
Um, for the actual episode, I suppose I didn't really have a script about what to chat about with that. I know it's all kind of free flowing, but the episode that we're kind of looking at for this podcast too is episode 4 in the first season's 5 episode part, and the actual episode is Echoes of the Past. Deals with main character, his traveling companion, enemies turn friends. They encounter a treasure hunter and then help her find this treasure, partly as a good deed, partly out of a life debt, let's say, and partly because they know that there's some wisdom that they can glean from this other adventure. And it was really fun to shoot. And, I know you watched that episode and bits and pieces that you gleaned from it. And I don't know if you had questions about that episode or like things that you'd want to touch on. I know there's a lot I could say, but
All right.
curious what you think.
Right. Well, first off, can I ask where you filmed it?
Yeah. Yeah. So we filmed most of the first season at a place called Hewitt's Nest up in Wisconsin. Doesn't really look like Holy Land. Another hot button issue has many names in the modern world, in the ancient world. But in the Holy Land, uh, it doesn't look exactly like it, Wisconsin, but to some degree, there's trees anywhere in the world, so hopefully listeners will be forgiving.
Sure.
It's not desert, but
it was nice to look at. Right?
Yeah, it's pretty.
It was really pretty. It was a nice area. You can't fault it for that. Suspension of disbelief, right?
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, it doesn't look like Israel or Palestine by the many names that it's been. It's what? Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so that's where it was.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and the waterfall was a nice feature. The cliffs were cool. We had a river there that we were able to film in.
Was that if you don't mind asking, is it public land or was that some kind of park, or was that a friend's place, or?
It's a state park.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's public land. Anyone can be there.
Sure.
Within park hours, of course.
Sure.
We had to get a permit through the DNR to film. That's a precaution I wanted to take because it just felt like best practice.
Absolutely.
We're going to use it commercially. State-owned land. Get in trouble later.
Very thoughtful of you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be an issue, but
oh yes. Oh yeah,
could
it
be.
would be an issue.
Could be.
Somewhere down the line, somebody would say something.
Yeah. So I figured it was better to get ahead of the horse, and they were very good to work with, and I mean, it is required if you're selling it commercially. We're not selling it commercially yet, but plan to. So it's best practice. It's
Yep, bingo. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, very smart of you. Very glad you're covering all your bases.
We try. I mean, it's like I sign agreements that are actors and crew members. It's not that I'm trying to play gotcha with them. It's kind of just trying to offer security. It's like I have a written contract. Okay, you're gonna help out this day and this time. We sign it as soon as we get to set and we start filming. It says I got permission to use footage, and we have an understanding that after them for anything either way. It's like a level of security that says I know we trust each other, but like it's just emphasizing that trust. I guess I don't know how else to put it.
Sure.
They appreciate that. Friends have said they appreciate that it feels more organized than other shoots. One of my friends has said that many times. There's other shoots that people will be on where it'll be a nightmare, depending on who.
Sure. Just time management problems and
yeah, Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of personalities in any creative
Yes. And
people.
let's be honest. Creative people are usually opinionated.
Yes. Yes, that's a diplomatic way to put it,
that's
actually. Yeah.
that's part of
Yeah.
creativity, right?
It
The
is.
yeah, it's just like scientists, really smart people in the mathematics field. They usually don't take too well to criticism of their of their theories and
Right.
theorems and that sort of
I mean
part of
that.
the.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like
But I guess
that.
that's all of human, anybody in there.
Yeah.
But maybe even just a little bit more so.
Critique is hard, and I mean that whole train of thought really reminds me of a. It's called a speech that I heard from Matthew McConaughey. Um, he had a college graduation speech that he was giving. I think it was one of the universities in Texas. Gosh, I don't remember, but a while ago, and it was his like 21 truths or something about life, and one of the most interesting ones was talking about his critics, and he'd have people that would critique his movies, and he would read it, and first it bothered him if it was negative, but then he started to realize, well, maybe they're pointing out something that be improved upon, figures out what he's doing good, not doing so good, what could use some work, and learning how to take critique. And I think there's a balance too. Like there's constructive critique, which is helpful, where someone says, hey, here's an idea of how something could be better. Not saying it's trash. It's not saying it's worthless. It's just saying here's a way that could help. And I think that makes all the difference is it's trying to build something up. It's easier to hear versus if it's like
Sure.
with restaurant reviews. Work at a restaurant, and every restaurant in America will sometimes have a customer that will simply give a 1 star and say nothing but sucks. Like, quote, sucks. Place
Yes.
sucks. 1 star. They won't say why. They didn't like it. Maybe the food, steak, I don't know.
Right. And those ones you can really blow off, right? And especially in today's social media,
Sometimes, yeah.
you're you're gonna get that no matter what. There's just gonna be sucks, and those you have to ignore. And
Yeah.
now some of the critiques may be a little more a little bit more accurate, but maybe still
Yeah.
wrong in your mind, right?
Yeah.
The food was cold and it
Right.
was horrible. I'm not going to be there anymore.
True.
Okay, well, maybe the food wasn't cold. Maybe the food was lukewarm,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't as hot as it could be. So you can still take that as critique, right? Even though
Yeah.
it's poor critique,
Right.
it's you still take it as critique. Maybe I could have
Yeah.
done this a little bit better.
It's constructive. 'Cause, we've had that where customers will, and visit multiple restaurants. It's not one restaurant, so I feel like I'm pedaling here by saying it, but just not trying to blanket statement or anything like that. But at any restaurant in America, is going to be situations like that. At various jobs, I've had customers that say, yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like, oh, it was cold. Yeah, I mean, it's same with like movies. Say, like the camera work sucked, just didn't look good. Okay, it's hard to piggyback off that. Versus if someone says, well,
Way too many
um,
close-ups.
yeah, the close-ups
Way
would
too
be,
many faraway shots.
yeah,
Feel like I'm looking through a window from the way,
right.
or yeah. Or like
Wind in the microphone.
Predator versus Aliens. What was the? I love Predator movies and I
Yeah,
like Aliens movies. There was either the first or second Predator Aliens movie. I don't remember which, but is when the alien comes down to Earth, lands in the forest, and then messes up the. Uh, and it was so dark.
yeah,
Okay, the whole movie was so dark. It was completely unwatchable. Like, I love Predators. I love Aliens. Like,
yeah.
you don't even have to. I mean, it was so hard to screw that movie up for me, in my mind. But they did just by making it
Yeah.
And boy, I hope whoever.
Yeah. Well, with HBO's House of the Dragon,
I love.
it's
Okay.
yeah, I love that show. I mean, it's very similar to in the first season, episode 7 specifically. There was a scene on a beach. People
Okay.
who've watched the show will know exactly what I'm talking about, and there's going to be people that listen to this that might show up in the comments and say, "Oh yeah, that scene sucked," because it was dark. It was physically dark. It was at nighttime, and they had the camera's brightness turned way down in editing, and they actually had to put out a statement from HBO saying that was intentional for the story, because it was a dark conversation about a very dark
Dark
thing
subject.
in the character development, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a creative decision, which from the creative side makes a whole lot of sense to me why they chose to do it that way. There's a good reason why. But then for the viewer, it's like, well, if it's hard to watch, at a certain point, aesthetically, it's just not
It's
communicating.
distract.
Yes, and that's the thing.
You're not even listening to what they're saying, no matter
Yeah,
how
true.
I'm the mother after all.
Yeah, right.
It
Yeah,
doesn't mean anything if you can't even see anything and your mind's angry
yeah,
because you're annoyed.
yeah,
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there comes a certain
yeah,
point. Some of the scenes in the first Game of Thrones,
yeah.
there are lots of the scenes inside. Was it Stone? That had the big
Maybe.
map on the wooden
Yeah,
table,
it is. Yeah,
right
yeah,
where
yeah,
Stannis
yeah,
was hanging out for beginning of the movie or
yeah,
middle of the series.
yeah,
That's a dark place, right? It's a
yeah.
dark area, and that was gone back to many times throughout the series. It was dark in there, but there was never a sense. Oh, it's everything
Right.
was important. It was just lit from nowhere, right? It was
Yeah,
all like ambient light.
which is really helpful because you want the viewer to enjoy it. You don't want to distract them. And, I think it's a good lesson and with any creative endeavor, like you have to be artistic and creative and technical and uh aesthetic about it, because you want to share it in a pleasing way to the viewer and you want to win awards, but at the same time you also want your viewer to enjoy it. So it's like you have to balance the what some people would say, balance your artsy fartsy with also just your practical does it work. It's like don't
Yes,
always reinvent the wheel.
yes,
Kind of, it's like use some framework and put a twist on it. Like
right,
I think
right,
a balance is good.
right.
Feedback like that, I've had feedback like that on projects before too, and it's all good. I mean,
Yep.
that's a whole subject right there for sure.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, yeah. I mean, like with episode 4, I'm kind of segueing here a little bit. Um, one of the things I do want to touch on at least is, that episode and that day of filming was a big lesson for me also in enjoying the moment of the process of filming. Really just settling back and just taking in how fun it is to be there, to have the privilege to actually healthy enough to do it even, like that kind of stuff and enjoying the friends around and like project and stuff like that and nature, all that kind of stuff. And um, that's one thing I think might be helpful to touch on because maybe someone would be interested to hear that. I don't know what your thought is on that whole
Sure.
train of thought, but
It was yeah, nice to be on this and
yeah,
and
yeah, just
and
enjoying the
film.
moment of like knowing there's a big task ahead, but just taking it one piece at a time. X amount of scenes, but
Sure. Sure. Well, I need to talk about spoilers then, or what?
I mean, spoilers are fine because I think
We released with
after the episode,
so
so yeah,
you're giving away that huge bag of coins, and then
yeah, yeah, you can totally talk about that. Absolutely. Yeah,
I mean, like I understand giving and everything. That was a huge. I think she even said like
yeah.
you know
Liana, the
like you're gonna
character.
need some of it for your trip, and like
Yeah,
I'm not as caring as the character. I'd have been
right,
like grabbed a couple of coins out for
right,
myself, and
right.
like here, then thrown it. I
Yeah,
still got to eat.
Well, that's meant to be a big pivotal moment. 'Cause I'm about to spoiler drop the entire series here, so I'm so sorry. But that's kind of the point of the podcast is after the episode. So, spoiler alert, if you don't want a spoiler, turn back now. But that's a major pivotal moment for the main William because he starts off only wants to go home. That's it. Done with the war. He's out of there. Money. He needs to go home. And then he meets Fadi and says, "Hey, maybe my sworn enemy, all that different from me. Maybe we could actually coexist. I don't have to fight him." And they really learn about each other and realize they respect each other, brotherly manner. Um, they do the fight with that other knight, and deadly fight, and that's a big moment. Like that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, that's a spoiler for me now.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, geez, but no, I mean, because like, uh, there's points where William's telling Fadi that they don't care about what happens to the people of this Holy Land. They just have to get home. But then it hits a moment where they're faced with a situation where there's someone that needs their help. They have a chance to help this treasure hunter, who can then help the poor, and has that moment where he's got this bag of coin that they earned from a different side quest, and he can either be selfish, walk away with it, or he can give it to a good cause. Ultimately, he decides, well, he realizes that he needs to grow as a person. And that's one good deed that he can do towards that. It's something I've talked a lot about with my mother. She's a very faithful person, and both faithful and religious churchgoers, you might say, but she's very, very faithful, much to her credit. And something we've talked about a lot in our conversations about Bible, you name it, and it's a big message from the Bible is about giving and being charitable, and that's kind of meant to show character development of like not just saying that you're about religion, but actually,
being about religion,
yeah, practicing it,
living it,
yeah, doing what Jesus would do, or doing what Allah would do, or Buddha, or not Vishnu.
well, most of the religions in the
Yeah,
world, yeah, are all
yeah,
about sharing and being kind
yeah,
and
yeah,
and living at your means, or living,
yeah.
yeah, humbly.
Exactly. Do what Thor, Zeus, you name it. Uh, exactly. And that's meant to be almost commentary on that in the story. It's kind of big.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's part of it too. Is I enjoyed that in the series about showing growth. I think every character actually has growth. It's, Fadi um, becomes increasingly faithful and more accepting of his own troubled past the further they go in their journey. He kind of comes to peace with his own demons just by talking. Different side characters that they meet sort of make their own peace with their own selves too. Liana in episode 4, um, I think meeting William and Fadi is huge for her because, um, when they're parting and he gives the bag of gold away, it's kind of reinforces her belief that do the right thing, I guess, that she's not the only one. She's trying to help the poor, but hi, here's someone else that sees that vision too. And it's I don't know,
Right,
it's
right.
big umbrella
Sure.
subject.
No, that's good. It's good
Yeah.
to have lessons learned in your story.
Yeah.
You know, is it is it selfish if he would have kept the bag? The character would have kept the bag to himself.
I believe so.
Did he earn it?
My personal belief, and viewers might have a totally different
Sure.
view. My personal belief is is that it would have been because he wants to go home not because he wants to go back home and do good there, but because at that point in his life he wants to go home simply because he's afraid and because he just misses the comforts of home, misses his family, which is more noble. Um, but to actually sacrifice his ticket home to see his beloved family in favor of doing something that's right, it's like huge sacrifice. So I think it'd be selfish to take the bag and run. But viewers might also say, well, he's also sparing his mother the pain of losing a son, perhaps. So maybe it's selfish. I mean, you know.
Right. Oh, right. Right.
So many ways to look at it.
I mean, in everyone's experiences in life, you act differently and you learn things and you become who you are because of your life's experiences.
Yeah.
I'll touch on something that makes me be selfish. I try not to be a selfish person, but I know that probably that's something I need to work on. And I'll give you an example why. When I was a child, I was playing with my toys, right? And I had Transformers, right? Transformers. Back when we were kids, Transformers were pretty expensive, right? They were kind of the, you just didn't go and get one every week. The Transformers were kind of, you got it for your birthday, you got it for Christmas. Uh, I had a Megatron. My parents saved up, and I got a Megatron.
Sure.
That's Megatron's the big one, right? Megatron's the big pistol. Transforms. He's the big leader of the Decepticons. Big deal. My family wasn't all. We weren't rich. Okay, we had our.
Sure.
Did I have a home? Did I have food? Yes, but not all the biggest.
Sure.
It was pretty rough. The Megatron meant a lot to me. So my mom one day said, "Hey, my friends needs a toy to go. Their son's going to the doctor. Blah blah blah.
Sure.
They need a toy to play with." And
Yeah.
I said, well, I don't have any toys I want to give it. She's like, just go get a toy. And I'm like, no, I don't know. No, go play with your own toy. I don't,
Right.
So she goes, give me the toy in your hand. I'm like, my Megatron gun? She's like,
Right.
just give me that. And I'm like, no. And she's like, they're waiting. Give me the toy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I gave her the toy and I said, better not break it. Or I know something like that. Maybe I thought that in my head, right?
Something like that. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I think you know where I'm going with this story. Sure enough,
Yeah.
the toy is gone for a day or two.
Something
Day
happens.
comes back, it's broke.
Yeah.
My Megatron, my $35, $40
Yeah.
Megatron that was worth the world to me.
I mean, as a kid, when
is broke.
$1 is like $1 million. Yeah.
All right. And
Yeah.
my mother always said, yeah, well, I'll get you a new one. And you know what? I'm not pointing at my mother here.
No, not at all.
She's given me a million.
She's an amazing mother
since then, right? Exactly. But that is part of what made me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I give something to somebody that it's broken, doesn't come back, now I'm without, and I didn't have to begin with.
Right.
And I guess just that feeling, it makes me deep inside something to give.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked you that question.
No, I get that.
Was it selfish that he didn't give her the purse? Maybe it was just, maybe it wasn't unselfish.
Yeah.
But is it necessarily selfish? I don't know. I guess it does depend on your point of view and the character arc, which I don't know yet because
I've spoiled a lot for you already. But I mean, I would love to hear what viewers think of that actually, because that is a great conversation piece. I mean, I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah. Let us know what you think, I guess. Go ahead and comment on that.
Selfish.
Yeah, let us know.
I'm sure it would be unselfish. But would it be selfish?
It is a good question. I like that. I guess I'm curious. I think probably be good to try to wrap up. I mean, I know I forgot to put on the stopwatch, so I don't know how much time we're on actually. I think it's getting close to that hour, maybe a little over. But I guess I'm curious if there's
about
like, are there real quick like final thoughts, final questions, final things? What do you think is a good closing subject for viewers to chew on?
I don't know, should we talk about how you always wanted to play the underdog? And when we played Star Wars miniatures, you would take groups of Ewoks and group of battle droids and group of stormtroopers, all the nameless small characters, and you'd gang up and use them all together to try to take down the big, huge heroes and villains.
Darth Vader,
with all these nameless hordes. I don't know. It says, have you thought about that in your psyche? What makes Brad tick? What makes him always?
I mean, we could chat about that. No, I appreciate the question. I mean, because it's funny. Like that was such a huge thing. I mean, no, I mean it's a good question. I mean, the best way I can explain that from unpacking my psyche on it is like, I mean, I like a good rags to riches story, call it, or like rags to riches, but like yeah, underdog. I think that's a good way to put it.
Underdog story, yeah.
Yeah, because everybody in their own life deals with stuff, feels downtrodden at one point, and there are some people that really go through it in life and have a hard time. And yeah, I mean, I like those stories because I want people to feel hopeful after it. Like I want people to walk out of the theater saying, "Wow, that was cool character development. I learned something," or even just, "Oh, it was interesting." Or if there's like a little boy or a little girl who's watching the series and says, "Wow, like be that character," not necessarily my character. Maybe they fall in love with the treasure hunter or the faithful Saracen soldier. Hi, Crusader Knight William, or they really like Tanner, another knight who's very honorable, or they really like Katarine, the doctor. You name it. I mean, whichever character they most connect with, I do want people to walk out of the theater feeling good, feeling movie should be personally.
Sure.
It's the Star Wars effect, I guess. Like, cause walked out of, let's say, episode 2. I don't know, like when I was 8 years old, something like that. Like that was my first actual in theater experience with Star Wars.
Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, because I was a little bit too young when Phantom Menace came out. I was only like 3, um 6 when Attack of the Clones. But I remember that specifically because we walked out of there. It was a happy ending. So nice. We just talked about it the whole ride home, and just that experience, the movie going experience. That it was a family event. We saw the movie as a family and talked about it as a family, and learned something as a family afterward. It's reason to do it, I guess.
Sure. And then you got older
So
and saw Empire Strikes Back, and then what did you think?
I mean, I love all of them. I mean, my dad's favorite is Empire Strikes Back for sure. My favorite is always, always, always going to be Return of the Jedi, though. Just, it literally does not get better than that. Like, Vader turning good, man. I mean, how do you top that moment? You just don't.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the first. I saw them in order, so the third was like the big culmination, the big thing for
That
me.
was really a fun movie.
So you can call the Ewoks corner reading story, but you know what? I don't care. When I was that young, that was the watching Emperor Palpatine go down. Oh yeah,
it was. I mean, it's probably my favorite movie to this day. It's so good.
Yeah, good choice. Good choice.
So we'll wrap it here. I appreciate you coming on. Any quick rapid fire last thoughts for the viewers, listeners? Anything, something I'm missing?
Well, you know what? In the idea of saying, as I said earlier in the episode, of saying the wrong thing, I'm just gonna leave it.
Okay.
Leave it alone.
Okay.
No one to shut my mouth.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. That's wise. I mean, we talked about a lot of different subjects, and if people have questions, if they want to, I mean, it's like if people liked what they heard or have questions about what they heard or want to discuss it more, have something in the comments. Yeah, let me know. Put it in there. And maybe that helps model on some future dialogue too with different like guests and stuff like that. That let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think.
Thank you very much for having me on your podcast, and appreciate it.
Did you?
Honored that you asked me.
Yeah, no, it's very fun. So All right. Well, I'm gonna stop the recording here. Um, we'll let the listeners say what they thought. So
Okay.
thank you.